And welcome back to Let's Play Persona 3, starting off our exploration of Tartarus for real this time, in Persona 3 FES. I figured the best way to handle this is that I'll be switching between the various versions of the game as I go through each section of Tartarus. Basically, whenever I reach a significant milestone in Tartarus, usually a boss, once that's done, we'll switch to another game as our primary source of focus for going for Tartarus. That said, there are a number of unique mechanics and additions in Persona 3 Reload, so if that version is not the focus, I'll still be organically swapping to it when something new comes up. Just to get that established, a lot of the exploration is pretty similar between Persona 3 FES and Persona 3 Portable by contrast, but there are some differences, and we will be checking those out as they come up. With that all established, let's get underway in exploring the first block. You walk up to the door, Mitsuru asks if you're ready. By the way, I found out something else about Tartarus. A few floors up, there's a barricade preventing you from going any higher. The tower seems to have a number of these interspersed amongst its floors. I know I told you that the layout changes each day, but these barriers seem to be in fixed locations. Therefore, I'd like you to try and reach the first barricade. I'm counting on you. Mitsuru would like us to reach that first barricade, though it's far from necessary to do so in order to progress the game. Obviously, though, we want to do some exploration of Tartarus in order to gain some experience and get some money and items. The money, just so we can develop our social links better, and of course, obviously the experience for those fights that we can't avoid. Give me a moment, and I'll check to see what's beyond this floor. Real quick, before we get into the thick of the things in FES, in Reload, I just wanted to take a look at the clock here. What a large clock. Doesn't seem to be working, though. The clock at the entrance can be used to fully restore HP and SP for your entire team. You can also find clocks on the floors you're currently exploring. They will also provide the same effect as the clock at the entrance. Activating a clock requires 7 Twilight Fragments, so you should make a habit of collecting them for emergencies. So yes, in order to recover HP and SP in Reload, we will need Twilight Fragments in order to activate the healing clock. This is the big reason why I did that drive to collect as many Twilight Fragments as possible in the previous video. This will allow us to use the clock twice at the price of 14 Twilight Fragments, and you definitely want to wait until you're as close to empty as possible before you use that, obviously to get the most out of it. This is something that will make traveling through Tartarus a bit trickier in Reload compared to FES, since we have a much more limited supply of Twilight Fragments to go around. Note that we checked it out previously, but in Portable, you just have to pay money to use the clock, and in Portable, the cost to use the clock is never going to be something I'm ever going to be worried about having enough money to pay, so that is basically irrelevant. Let's get into the nitty-gritty now. Upon entering Tartarus in Reload, Mitsuru will provide us a little stipend of supplies. Is stipend even an accurate word for that? Yeah, whatever. I was trying to sound wordy, but I probably just sounded stupid. Anyways, we get some medical powders, a revival bead, and 2 Trafuri gems. Very nice. That's all from my end. Good luck. Upon entering Tartarus in Reload, we get a quick tutorial here about dashing, obviously something we've been doing a lot of by holding the right trigger. However, enemies will spot you more easily when dashing, so be careful. Not something you should ever really be concerned with, honestly.
Alright, just leave everything to yours truly.
We also get a cache of items from Mitsuru in Persona 3 Portable. In this game, we get 2 medical powders, a snuff soul, a Triesto gem, which allows us to escape from a dungeon at any point if we use it, the Trafuri gems, which function by allowing us to escape from battles guaranteed, much like they do in Reload, and uniquely, cadenza items. We'll be going over what these do later. Detect a great source of power above you. It's still relatively far away, but keep your guard up nonetheless. It's actually not that far, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Note that in Persona 3 FES we're using a bow now, so we can sneak up on these enemies, fire a ranged shot. Unfortunately, the range is not as big as you'd hope, but we can still pepper enemies with shots from a distance. Ooh. These are magic hands, and these guys can be quite dangerous, but fortunately for us, they are vulnerable to fire spells. So we can just blast them with fire, and wow, take that one out right away. You know what? I'm actually going to sandbag on this first turn a little bit. Let's let Yukari and Junpei take some actions, just to see if Mitsuru's scan can get through. Oh, this is going to kill it. Okay, never mind. Well, I'll explain what I wanted to explain anyway, since I didn't get to show it off. Mitsuru in this game, instead of keeping a running track of the enemy's weaknesses and resistances as you attack with skills, instead, she can scan the enemy. And if she scans the enemy, after a few turns, she'll pull up all of the weakness and resistance information for the enemy for you. Nothing more than that, though, beyond the enemy's HP. One thing we can do to bait the enemy into making themselves vulnerable is deliberately aggro them, and then we can run outside of their aggro range, which will be represented by the red dot disappearing from the map. Let's get that Muttering Tiara on the scan queue. Or you can run onto those little staircases in the corners of rooms. When you are on those staircases, it automatically breaks the aggro of the enemies, allowing you to flip them around and back attack them. Very handy if they're chasing you to those stairways. These Muttering Tiaras, I believe they're weak to wind and ice skills. As a matter of fact, while we're closing this out here, let me get my notes up. I actually did, for once, take notes. I should have opened these up before I started, but hey, hindsight is 2020. There we go. Yes, they are strong against fire spells, but weak against ice and wind, so keep that in mind. On every floor of Tartarus, or every standard floor of Tartarus, there's the stairs leading up. We don't want to take those yet, because on every standard floor of Tartarus, there will be 2 chests for you to find in Persona 3 FES and Persona 3 Portable. It's a little bit different in Persona 3 Reload. There can be quite a varied number of chests on each floor in that version of the game. Let's just hit this guy with a shot, see what we got here. If we run into things we've already seen, these are Merciless Mayas. These guys are weak to, what is it? I don't, unfortunately, have these guys in my notes, but they are weak to Wind, Ice, and Elect. All spell types we don't have, so we're just going to have to deal with them on a turn-by-turn basis. When your allies are set to act freely, and, yeah, okay, I had that right. When your allies are set to act freely, they just do whatever. But you know what? It's kind of annoying to just leave decision-making into the AI's hands, so why don't we just, what the? I can't take direct command of my party members. In Persona 3 FES and Persona 3 Vanilla, your party members are locked into AI control. You cannot directly control them. Let's, actually set a tactic here. Assign target can force them to target specific shadows, and what we want to do here is target that Muttering Tiara to make sure that we take it down, since it's the slightly more threatening enemy compared to the Cowardly or the Merciless Maya. One thing to note there is that the protagonist got 2 actions there, or rather, he got the first action on the first strike, and then he got a second action when the round of turns finished. In Persona 3 Vanilla and Persona 3 FES, your main character always is first in the turn order. Oh, sweet, we can get a wand to increase our experience here. Very nice. That increases experience gain by 20%. In Persona 3 Portable, the wand has been buffed slightly. The base value is actually doubled. Ooh, nice! 2,715 yen. You can get very, very large payouts from treasure chests in Persona 3 FES and Persona 3 Vanilla and Persona 3 Portable. As a point of contrast, in Persona 3 Portable, we are able to set our allies to direct commands. In Persona 3 Reload, they kind of realized that nobody really liked AI control finally, and have made it so that the direct command option is what party members are set to by default. So hey, they eventually got the hint on that one. Funnily enough, as they have switched over more to focusing on direct command style gameplay, tactics have become more streamlined and considerably less useful and harder to play with in games that the games that still feature them. Popping over to Portable real quick, I just want to go over the wand card in Persona 3 Portable, because this card has actually been buffed considerably from Persona 3 FES. The wand spurs growth, your experience increased. Not so different so far, but look at the amount of experience we got for that. In Persona 3 Vanilla and Persona 3 FES, the wand card increased your EXP gain in increments of 20%. So 20% of, like, what, the 4 EXP we're getting from enemies at this point? Not that much, but In Persona 3 Portable, the card has a baseline doubling effect from level 1 that increases at the same 20% incremental rate. So in the early game, it is actually a massive buff to the amount of experience that you're getting, in addition to how enemies in Persona 3 Portable generally give out slightly more experience than they did in FES. Despite what you might think, though, this actually does not have as much of an impact on your player level as you would think it would. You'll be ahead of the curve for the first couple of months in Persona 3 Portable, but I actually find that the level curve between the two versions of the game actually stabilizes quite a bit around the fourth full moon or so, and after a point, I actually feel like you level up slightly faster in FES, because in FES, EXP isn't being divided between your party members. You always get the same amount of EXP regardless, whereas in Persona 3 Portable, there is EXP division going on depending on how many party members you have, so just an interesting little thing I thought I'd bring attention to at this point. Alright, another shuffle time here. Let's get a Card of the Sword. I forget if I mentioned this specifically, but in Persona 3 FES, Vanilla, and Portable, instead of giving you skill cards, the sword cards give you weapons, and I got a practice bow there. I might actually end up using that. I got the short bow as a bit of safety, but I honestly just wanted a bow in general for the boss fight that's coming up. The practice bow is not nearly as strong as the short bow. Well, okay, it's only a little bit weaker, but it is a lot more accurate. I believe it has 92 accuracy compared to the 88 that the short bow has, which would make it a lot more reliable in the boss fight that we're getting into. So let me try and explain a concept that I was trying to describe earlier a little bit better. When you get a first strike in Persona 3 FES, your turn order is the order in which your party is set up. So the main character will go first, then Yukari, then Junpei. In Persona 3 Portable and Persona 3 Reload, every turn order is where a character acts in a turn order is determined by their agility score. Additionally, the main character always goes first in battle. He will always go first when you get a first strike, and when the proper round of combat starts, he will also be the first character to act, so pretty helpful that way. It basically gives you 2 free actions with your main character when getting into a battle. Got a level up for Orpheus there. As you can see, Orpheus takes a lot more experience to level up than the main character, and indeed the personas of our party members. There's a medicine that is a fixed HP recovery item that restores 50 HP. Pretty nice at this point in the game, though obviously it pretty quickly becomes outdated. But yeah, the main character's personas, to compensate for the fact that he can switch between them freely and modify his attributes at will, they take much more experience to level up. This whole place seems like a maze. Even the access points seem to be randomly distributed. If you feel like you're in danger, don't hesitate to return. I'd actually like to avoid using an access point if we can manage it, all things considered. Alright, another shuffle time here, and ooh, we've got a Cursed card. Cursed cards will allow you to get the card with the same benefit that it normally would have, but it decreases the death timer for the floor you're on. What's the death timer? Well, if you idle too long on a given floor, you will attract the attention of the Grim Reaper. Doing a quick roundup of the enemies we can come across in Reload. I won't be going over the ones in Portable since they are functionally identical to how they are in Vanilla and FES, but they're slightly retooled in Reload. These Cowardly Mayas, for instance, are weak to fire skills as well as slash attacks. I would say slash attacks, but Junpei missed here. Here, the protagonist can demonstrate it. Here we go, slash attacks. Cutting back to Reload real quick, if you choose a persona that you already have, then all personas who share the same arcana will gain experience. This is an incredibly useful new mechanic to Reload, where if you see repeat personas or personas already in your possession in the shuffle time, it is no longer a dead slot. This actually gives an incredible amount of experience to the relevant personae in the arcanas that the personae are tied to, so it is actually very worth your while every now and again to pick these. Apsaris will absolutely get a level up off of picking this card, as you can see right there. And she gets Basudi. Not that I really care about that. These muttering tiaras here are weak to wind and wind only in Persona 3 Reload. They cannot be hurt with ice spells the same way they can in Persona 3 FES and Persona 3 Portable. Another mechanic I'd like to highlight in Persona 3 Reload is that, one, you can bring up a zoomed-in version of the map, something that you can also do in Persona 3 Portable. However, also new to Persona 3 Reload is that when you check out the zoomed-in map, you can also interact with things like access points and the stairs if you have discovered them. So, if you've happened to find the stairs early, but you still have some of the floor you want to explore, you can go do that, then bring up the blown up map and just immediately travel to the next floor. Very nice quality of life feature. I like it a lot. Here we're getting a formal tutorial on breakable objects. Within Tartarus, you will find breakable objects comprised of shadow remains. Destroying them will sometimes yield items, so get wrecking. I have no problem obliging the game with that command. Here we have Merciless Mayas, and in Persona 3 Reload, these guys are weak to ice exclusively. They do not have the plethora of weaknesses that they possess in FES and Portable. And he is an incredibly powerful opponent who will absolutely... Ooh! Okay, ignore the Grim Reaper for right now, because we'll see him eventually, or have to deal with him eventually. We're in a really good position for this thing right here, because this is a rare form. Now, we got the first strike on it, but it got the enemy advantage there. Rare forms always get the enemy advantage, regardless of how you attack them. They also flee really quickly, and in Persona 3 Vanilla and FES, they move way too fast for you to catch up to if you happen to alert them early. They were slowed down a little bit in Portable, and they essentially move at the same rate as normal shadows in Reload, but rare forms give you incredibly valuable treasure if you can kill them. How they work depends on the game that you're playing. In this game, they're resistant to basically all magic, but they're decently vulnerable to physical attacks. This actually gives me a good opportunity to show off something with the bow, or at least allude to something. Ooh, nice. Now, when you miss with weapons in Persona 3 FES and Portable, nice, good work, Junpei, there is a chance that when you miss, you will stumble. Wealth coin can be sold for a lot of money, and we need money, so that's a good thing to get. But there is a chance that you will stumble. If you stumble, you will be put in the down status, and in Persona 3 Vanilla and FES, that costs you your turn, while in Persona 3 Portable, it just leaves you more vulnerable to damage. The bow is unique in that it is one of a handful of weapon types that is immune to stumble. It will never stumble no matter what, so that's pretty nice. Ooh, that's unfortunate. Now, another thing I'd like to point out is the way the next turn order is displayed here. As you can see, it gives us a numerical list of each, or, what am I trying to say here? It numbers how each character is going to act. We can actually see the entire turn queue with the turn order button. This is a little jumbled to look at first, but I actually way prefer this to how it was retooled for every game. Hey, there's the stumble that I was talking about. That can happen to enemies too when they use normal physical attacks. You also cannot stumble when using physical persona skills. But, crap, I just lost my train of thought there, because I was just so excited about seeing the enemy stumble there. I got a all-out attack, and, ooh, nice, Tartarus. That'll actually let me show off another new thing in battle. We got so many new mechanics to show off, it's crazy. But yeah, what was I trying to say there? Crap. It's probably gonna come back to me. I'll think on it. Right now, we've got the first treasure chest on 3F. Generally, in the early game, you just want to focus on getting all the treasures on a floor, and then you can move on to the next floor. Kill everything you come across along the way, and you should be good to go. Now, here is a mechanic unique to Vanilla and FES. Portable and Reload do have a similar mechanic to this. Well, Portable technically has the same mechanic, but it works way differently. You can combine the power of two personas to create a special skill known as a fusion spell. A fusion spell is very powerful, but you must have two personas in your arsenal to use it. One of those two personas must be assigned. Essentially, we need one of the component personas for a fusion spell equipped. Once you have used a fusion spell, it will appear in the menu. The conditions for using it will also be displayed. Try to discover as many fusion spells as you can. They're talking about the config menu, where we can look at every fusion spell that we unlock. In this case, with Orpheus and Apsaras, we have the ability to use the Cadenza spell. This spell is incredible and is ridiculously good. It restores 50% HP to the entire party, the best AoE healing we will have for a very long time. And it applies a unique buff to the party, Evasion Up. This increases your dodge rate for 2 turns. It's different from Sukukaja, which also boosts your accuracy, and it very uniquely for buffs in the older versions of Persona 3, you can actually refresh Cadenza's buff by recasting it. Up until Persona 4 Golden, in Persona 3, the versions of Persona 3 and the original release of Persona 4, you could not reapply buffs before they expired. You had to wait until they expired before you could reapply them, which is very frustrating. Very strangely, Cadenza, both in all in Vanilla, FES, and Portable, is not bound by this restriction. You can refresh it by casting Cadenza repeatedly. Obviously, it costs quite a bit of SP, so we don't want to use it right now. Oh, right. What I was saying earlier is that bows cannot stumble when you miss. So that's a very nice aspect that they have for them. Makes them a little bit more reliable compared to other weapons. There is one other type of weapon in the game that is also immune to stumbling, though it is not one that the protagonist can use. Let's see. Ooh. 94 yen. You get a really wide range of yen hauls from chests when they contain money. Let's sneak up on this guy over here. Actually, you know what? I was gonna just cut ahead to the end of this encounter, but Apsaras is actually a very good get because she has Bufu as her spell, an ice-based spell. Anything at this point in Tartarus, if it's not weak to fire, it'll be weak to ice. So that's a very good thing for us to have here. That's unfortunate. Well, that's going to throw a wrench into things. But we might be able to persevere anyway. We have to avoid any encounters up to this point now, because Junpei is tired, and that will cause some problems for us. I'll think about what I want to do. Ooh, nice.
My skill level has increased.
But, that's, I was not expecting that. But yes, that is the fatigue system of Persona 3 Vanilla and Persona 3 FES. As you are exploring Tartarus... What the heck was that? I thought I got really confused. Oh dear. As you are exploring Tartarus and getting into battles, your party members will get fatigued, and when they are tired, they will suffer status penalties. Specifically, I believe it is their attack power is reduced by 25%, and they will take, I think it's also 25% more damage. I've also read that it reduces your accuracy, evasion, and makes you more susceptible to crits. I don't think that's an aspect of the tired status, but that is definitely an aspect of the sick status. It seems that the powerful foe above you is closer than I thought. If you don't think you're ready, then don't test your luck. I think I'm actually gonna have to test my luck, because I was not expecting Junpei to get tired there. You do not have many... Okay, good. We're going to skip by the chest for this level, because if I keep going, Yukari is also gonna get tired. This is going to make things a little dicey, and I'm about to do something pretty risky, but it won't be a huge deal if I fail. It'll just be a little bit of game I have to replay. Over here in Portable, on the 4th floor, I actually came across something interesting. This is a rare chest. As the name implies, rare chests are chests that spawn in rarely. These will often contain powerful consumables or powerful equipment that you won't typically find anywhere else. In this case, this one happened to contain the katana Juzumaru. In Persona 3 FES, this can be used on the protagonist, and honestly it's not a terrible option for him, because the main thing it has, aside from increased attack power, is plus 20 HP, a very good defensive boon. In Portable, only Junpei can equip it, but hey, it's an upgrade for him, so we may as well take it for slightly stronger all-out attacks, if not stronger physical attacks themselves. One thing to note is that if you get the Juzumaru, be sure to keep spare katanas in your inventory for Junpei or the protagonist, just so you can unequip it after a certain point. For reasons that we'll get into later, you do want to be able to unequip this weapon for one particular thing we can do later. Before we actually get into the boss fight, I actually had something pretty interesting come up in Persona 3 Portable. I was re-traveling through Tartarus for reasons up until the 5th floor, and I got an interesting event on the 4th floor. I don't detect anything, but something doesn't seem right. This is an event floor. This one is the empty floor, which causes the floor to spawn in with nothing but treasure chests, sometimes up to as many as like 6 or 7 of them, and you want to loot all of these. However, as you can probably expect, nothing comes that cheap or easy. This floor has a reduced death timer, and we'll go over what the death timer is when it becomes more relevant, but the core idea of that timer is it is to punish you for idling on a single floor for too long, should you be trying to farm enemies or what have you. So, you want to be careful when on these floors, because something a little bit perilous can happen. And I'm actually going to cut the video right now, just in case I happen to run into it, but I will be looting this floor, because it is big money. Those Juzumarus, I can sell them for a ton. I detect 3 shadows in this floor's central area. They're not like the ones you fought before. If you're not ready to face them yet, then return to the entrance and reorganize. Before we get into battle, let's have Yukari heal us up here. We should be careful with this one. There you go. Yukari does have some unique quotes she'll say, depending on the floor you're on, or rather, the characters in general. Let me see here. Oh, wow. Practice... Oh, it has the same accuracy as the short bow. I could have sworn I had more. Clearly, my memory is failing me again. Actually, before I forget, we also want to switch off of Apsaras and to Orpheus. Apsaras is weak to slash-based attacks, which is what the upcoming boss uses, so if we have her equipped, we will be in trouble. Heading forward... Is that? Excusez-moi, but can you have a look at the device near you? Alright, so, the device is similar to the one at the entrance. This is a teleporter. This is essentially a checkpoint for Tartarus. This will allow us to warp back to the first floor if we use it, getting fully healed. However, because Junpei is tired, when we return to the Tartarus lobby, he will leave for the night. So we cannot do that if we want him to help us in the fight. He'll be a little bit weaker, but it's better having them than not having him. Alright, coming into this fight, you can win. I'm certain of it. Say hello to our first Tartarus boss.
The enemy is stronger than you're accustomed to. Proceed with caution.
This is the Venus Eagle. These things are weak to pierce. Alright, so we actually want to be very particular about how we take our actions here. Just thinking about how I want to do this. Okay, I think I know what I want to do. Alright, so the one to my left is going to go 6th in the turn order. Turn order in boss fights is random in the older versions of the game, so you do have to be very mindful about what's happening. And Junpei is not going to be... Actually, you know what? No, I'm also going to assign him to that. And what we're going to do here is we're going to show off a new or a unique aspect of downing enemies in Persona 3 FES and Persona 3 Vanilla. Okay, I missed there. That's not a huge deal, though.
The enemy's already recovered.
Okay. So, ooh, damn. 2 misses. That's actually about the worst way this could go. Ooh. Okay, there goes Junpei. Oh, we're gonna lose. Yep, okay. That was about the worst way that could have gone, but yeah, that's what I get for playing risky. It honestly wasn't critical for me to bring Junpei, it just would have helped a little bit had I not missed there. But there's our first game over. We're going to be seeing a few of these in the early game of FES, but I'm not too shaken up about that. I just have to redo a little bit of Tartarus, so I will be able to get through that a little bit quicker since I don't have to explain everything. Alright, now this time I actually made it to this floor without anybody in the tired status. So this time we can actually use the teleporter to make a save, and this will probably be to my benefit, because as you saw, at this point in FES, we are not exactly the strongest fighters in the world, and if I happen to miss on any of my strikes, those Venus Eagles will just completely annihilate us. They hit super hard for this point. They strike Junpei's weakness, and in Persona 3 Vanilla and Persona 3 FES, you have no way of covering that. We'll be seeing how we can cover for that in the different versions after we beat it in FES, but for right now, let's engage in a little bit of early game save scumming. Now, I could fight these guys a bit more reliably if I actually took the time to level up, train, get a bunch of money, and buy some new equipment, but in general, I really like to be able to defeat one boss per Tartarus trip, if nothing else, just so I have a clearer marker that I've made progress. It's not the end of the world if we couldn't beat these guys tonight, but we are capable so long as I don't miss, so that's what I would like to accomplish. That unfortunately does mean there is a little bit of luck involved. One thing that actually could help very slightly, and not a huge amount, but if you bought some agility bands, that +1 agility would increase your physical accuracy, which is not a huge bonus, but every little bit helps. Alright, so once again, we want to get our turn order ready. Also note that these guys, very cruelly, just to screw with you. Okay, let's have Junpei and Yukari take down that one that is marked 6, and we want to start from the top. Very cruelly, if you attack these guys with Agi, you will find out that they are actually immune to fire spells, which is pretty obnoxious. But what we want to do here is we want to knock down every single one of these guys, and when the all-out attack comes up, we don't want to take it. We want to relent, and instead we want to take out the one that's last in the turn order. And we're just going to let these guys get up, because in Persona 3 Vanilla and Persona 3 FES, when an enemy gets up from being knocked down, they lose their turn. Also, unfortunately, Junpei did not actually get a crit there. Sometimes the game likes to give you false hope. So, okay, that could have gone a little better. Ideally, Yukari would have actually hit her mark, but she did not. Okay, let's see here. Take down this guy, clip his wings real quick, and now I actually am at a bit of an impasse. I could go for the all-out attack here, if I get this. This guy's down. Do I want to go for it? I'm not sure how much damage it would deal, but I think we might be able to finish him off with this all-out attack. All-out attacks are very, very powerful in Vanilla and FES. Okay, not quite, but we should, oh crap. That's actually not what I wanted you to do, Yukari. I just wanted you to, maybe I should have hit the rush. Oh well. I'll take that guy out. I would have really rather Junpei attack the other one, because that was about to happen. But that's okay, as long as this is not a crit, we win. Okay.
Be careful. Yukari is severely injured.
Yeah, let's just shoot this guy. I was considering changing my tactics there, but I could just hit the rush. Not the cleanest win, but the key to winning this fight is to knock them down and to know when to relent on the all-out attack and instead rob them of their turns. A cool 40 experience there to get the level up for Yukari and Junpei that I did not get previously. Sadly, when your characters level up off of a boss fight, they do not make the little comment, which is a shame. Also note that every time you beat a boss in Tartarus, they will have a rare and powerful restorative item behind them. In this case, they had a bead chain. Now, let's check out the fight in the other versions of the game. Now, over in Portable, well, first off, we've got new boss music here.
Stronger than you're accustomed to. Proceed with caution.
I haven't really been talking too much about the alternative soundtracks in the Femseas storyline, but I do like some of the new tracks, though honestly, I kind of prefer the male's version of this song. That's neither here nor there, though. The fight in Persona 3 Portable offers a unique couple set of challenges for us. First and foremost, we cannot use a bow as the Femsea, or the male character in this version of the game for that matter, so we can only rely on Yukari to knock these guys down, which is less than desirable to say the least. However, we do get a boon in our favor for this. We can cover for Junpei's weakness at least, because this game introduces the defense or guard command, originally added to the Persona series in Persona 4. I forget if Persona 1 or 2 had guard options. Regardless, it was removed from 3, but was available in 4. And since Persona 3 Portable is largely based on 4's mechanics, we can defend here to reduce incoming damage and cover our weakness for one attack, which Junpei very much appreciates. However, another con in this regard is because it's based on Persona 4's mechanics, we cannot rob the enemy of their turns by knocking them down. They just get up immediately, unless they are in the dizzy status, which we can acquire by striking their weakness again. So we want to be very mindful about how we handle this. That one over there is next, just trying to think about what I got here. For my Femc, I have the Pixie persona equipped. Pixie has no weaknesses, making her a pretty good persona at this point in the game, and I used some skill cards to get some attacking magic onto her. Let's start by actually casting Raccoonda on this eagle here. We can't see the full turn order like we can in Persona 3 FES, so we need to be mindful about what actions are going to be taken here. One thing to note, you saw how Yukari took almost no damage from that Garu spell there. That's her unique wind resistance coming into play, with that massive 90% resistance to the damage there. Didn't take nearly as much damage as Junpei did when he was guarding. One thing to note is that the party member resistances seem to have been nerfed in Persona 3 Reload, and they seem to be more in line with what the main character gets from being resistant to an element. Now, the tough thing to deal with here is that Yukari is not guaranteed to actually hit these enemies. She is very, very inaccurate, so I have to kind of weigh my options here. Do I want to take the chance to dizzy this thing and allow me to beat it down a little bit more easily, or do I want to go and try to knock all these things down to spread some damage around and hopefully be able to get some all-out attack chances against everything? There, the game is screwing with me and making it look like I was going to get a hit there, but no, she actually missed. Okay, so let's think here. I think what I want to do is I want to have the Femc cast Dia on herself. This version of the fight, we have to take a lot more slowly and a lot more methodically, because there is so much that can go wrong here, since we can't rob the enemy of their turns anymore. Okay, so here comes another Garu. That's actually very desirable. Let's see, that one's next. We want to focus on at least getting some damage tacked onto the one that has the defense debuff going. Let's get this guy down. And let's take down this guy. There we go. And we are going to actually skip on the all-out attack here and rob this guy of his turn. There we go. And we'll have an opportunity to try and knock that guy down again. Now, let's see here. Let's take a look at the next here. This guy is up next. If I could, I would have liked to use Bash on this guy, but I don't want to take that risk, so we're just going to go with a slash attack. If you're not hitting the enemy's weakness, you are not guaranteed to dizzy them. You do have a chance to dizzy them, but that's all it is a chance. Alright, so this guy's getting up. And he's going for a slash attack here. So we're going to take a little bit of a risk here. We're going to try and... Nope, that was a bad play. So now we have to run the risk that Garu is coming at the Femc, which it was not. That's lucky, that's lucky. Alright, let's take a look at our options here. Want to be mindful of what I do. Let's go with a medical powder on the Femc to get that most healing possible. The defense debuff has gone from that guy. It didn't really contribute too much extra damage anyway, so it's not a huge deal. Okay, so Garu's coming through again. Alright, let's just not pay particular attention to what order we're knocking these guys down in. This guy is pretty weak, but unfortunately we missed. And this is really just something you have to deal with Yukari. Since we've seen the mechanic here, I really wish I didn't have to use this, but we're kind of in a bad situation, so I have to go for it. Let's use Cadenza to get healing onto the entire party. In Persona 3 Portable, fusion spells have been retooled. They are no longer used by having two personas available. Sorry, I'm tripping over my words here. You no longer use them by getting two specific personas and then casting it from their skill list. Instead, fusion spells have been converted into items. This means you don't need to have specific personas equipped to use them anymore, but it also means that you can no longer use them at will just by having the personas required to utilize them. So they've been nerfed in that sense. How do we get more fusion spell items? Well, we don't have the option available for us to get that yet, and jeez, that was terrible. Yeah, this fight is really, really brutal. Let me see. Let's go for Dia on the Femc here. There is always the chance that Junpei is just going to get targeted with a Garu and taken out. That's just something we have to deal with. It's always desirable when Yukari gets targeted, because regardless of whether or not she gets hit, she takes so little damage from them that it is not a threat to her at all. One thing that would be really nice if we had it would be the Angel persona. If we took the time to grind it up and level it a little bit, we could get the Tsukukaja spell for it, which would allow us to buff Yukari's accuracy, making her much more reliable at actually hitting these guys. It's a good thing we have these medical powders. Now, I know what you're thinking, like, yeesh, are all the fights going to be this brutal? Thankfully, no. This is probably the roughest one between the two versions of Persona 3, or the 3 versions, I'm sorry. So, fortunately, once we get past this one, the remaining boss fights are not going to be too difficult. Another thing to keep in mind is that at this point in Persona 3 Portable, we get quite a bit more experience compared to Persona 3 FES, so it's a lot easier to just level up repeatedly to get strong enough to deal with this fight a little bit more reliably. Alright, here we go. That's one down, which is so, great. There! Oh, that's beautiful. I was just about to mention that, actually. If these guys miss, there is a chance that they will stumble and fall down, which is so helpful to us. Let's blast this guy with Bufu. They drain fire, but, other elements are fair game. And I would have Junpei attack here, but there's no guarantee that he's gonna kill it, so let's just let the thing Garu. It decided to target Yukari. So, that was no problem for us. This final attack, all-out attack, should do it. This is one of the worst attempts I've had this boss fight, but it was at least a winning one. Thankfully, the Venus Eagles decided to play nice and not target Junpei. If Junpei did get taken out, I honestly would just let him stay knocked out for this fight, because he's just a huge liability if he's not able to get a guard in. It will make your all-out attacks quite a bit weaker, but it's definitely makes the fight a lot more survivable. It honestly might even be worth it to just leave him out entirely, although he does draw some Garus away from the Femc, who doesn't have the HP or defense at this point to survive them reliably. Much like FES, we get a beat chain here. Now switching over to Reload. First off, when checking out the teleporter, as you can see, it's a much fancier device. I see. Go ahead and select the first floor on that device. That should bring you back. So yes, we'll return to the entrance, and we'll quickly save our game as well, in this version as well. I knew it.
Those devices are teleporters. They're portals that are all connected to one another. Once activated, you should be able to travel between any of the other devices. Be sure to activate any you come across. They'll be quite useful during future expeditions.
Do I really need to read off the tutorial for a checkpoint fast travel system for you? I don't think so. Anyway, real quick before we get into the fight, just in case, let's use up some of these life stones we've been getting to top off our team, and of course we want to update our save. No sense in going in half-cocked and letting ourselves get killed like I did in Persona 3 FES, although I did have a reason for doing that. Real quick before we get into the fight, let's just go over some unique things that I have going on in Reload. I've got a micro sash here that I found from a treasure chest, giving me an extra 10 HP, which is a pretty nice buffer there. Also able to pick up a persona that I have not yet picked up in FES in Angel. Angel has access to Wind Magic and Sukukaja to buff accuracy and evasion, which is pretty nice. But we're mostly going to want to stick to Orpheus in this version, for reasons we'll get into, well, we'll see once we get into the fight.
All right.
It's enemy territory up ahead. Are you ready for battle? Let's go. Heading into the fight here, we've got these birds. Much like the previous versions of the game, though they look a little different. Looks tougher than I thought, but ain't nothing stopping me. And indeed, if you think these guys look a little different, that's because they are different, and these are Ruthless Ice Ravens. Unlike the Venus Eagles, who drain fire skills, these guys are weak to fire skills, so we can blast them with fire and then easily set them up for an all-out attack. Pretty good, pretty good. Let's go for it. Because, like Portable, we can't engage in a turn-locking strategy, we just want to go for all-out attacks when we have them. One new mechanic to Persona 3 Reload is that when you use an all-out attack, you have a chance of, what is this? Blah, 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 blah. You have a chance of dizzying the enemy, much like how if you hit the enemy while they were down with their weakness in Portable, that would also dizzy them. Very nice, because it robs them of their turns. We'll want to have Junpei use a medicine on himself instead of taking the all-out attack when this Raven gets back up. Oh, never mind. That's unfortunate. we already have some problems arising, but that's okay because we've got revival beads at our disposal. Much like Persona 3 Portable, when we look at the turn order here with the survey, we can only see whose turn is coming up next. We can't actually see the full turn order, but because Junpei got knocked out there, he is now at the head of the turn queue after the protagonist. So he'll get an opportunity to use his Agi spell and knock these guys down again. Not that it really matters, because we're taking these guys down in pretty rapid succession. There we go. And this guy's already down. You know what? What the hell? Let's go for a power slash for style. There we go. Not too bad. Not too bad. Now, one nice thing about every boss fight in Persona 3 Reload is that they divvy out a much greater amount of experience points. In Persona 3 FES and Portable, the EXP payouts for the Tartarus bosses are pretty bad, by and large. Not so in Reload, where they're among the highest EXP payouts in the game. Much like the other, or the standard fixed encounters in Persona 3 FES and Portable.
This I can fight even better. Nicely done.
Well done, everyone. That was a formidable opponent. Heh, okay, my stunning performance aside, aren't all of us totally on the same wavelength now? Let's not bring up your stunning performance ever. And I'd rather not be on the same wavelength as you either. Why not? Teamwork makes the dream work, right? Well, I guess you have a point. Let's keep up the good work, Zeller-kun. We're doing good work for a new team. Let's keep up the pace. Right now, Tartarus is our only lead to unravel the mystery behind the Dark Hour. Alrighty, then let's keep on moving. One nice little bit of flavor is that whenever you defeat a Tartarus boss in Reload, the party will have a little bit of banter after the fight. I think it's pretty sweet.
All of them are totally weak, but they still don't stand a chance against me.
I admire your enthusiasm, Junpei. Anyways, let's continue onward into the chest area of Persona 3 Reload. Much like the previous versions of the game, you'll find good items in these chests, though not the same. Here we get a bead instead of a bead chain. However, keep in mind these areas as we go forward, because we'll be seeing different varieties of chests in them compared to Portable and FES. On the whole, I'd say the portable version of this fight is probably the hardest, partially because you lose access to two means of exploiting the boss's weakness, and obviously the other reason is that you can't rob the enemy of their turns to keep them from aggressing on you. Reload's version is no problem at all now that they're weak to fire, but you still should be careful when playing on Merciless. Hold on. The shadows on this floor are a bit different than the ones you've faced thus far. Proceed with caution. But yeah, them having that double fire weakness essentially allows us to do the same thing as the bow trick in this version of the game. Now, in FES, I'm actually not going to be exploring much farther than this. We're going to take out a couple enemies, but once the tired status starts cascading across our party, we're going to retreat from Tartarus as soon as possible, or rather, retreat back to the lobby as soon as possible, if not Tartarus itself. Shuffle time here. We may as well take the cup here. Unfortunately, in this re-attempt of Tartarus, I did not get Apsaras, but we will be getting her before this night is over, trust me. Let's see, Patra Gem there. That recovers, I believe it's Fear, Panic, and one other status, but I can't recall what it was. Distressed. Ooh, this is bad. We actually want to run from this. We don't want to fight this guy right now. We have nothing going against Grave Beetles. They are the elite enemy of the first block of Tartarus, and we will eventually get a quest where we want to kill one of them, but we do not want to fight those things at all until we have access to wind magic, because that is their weakness. Otherwise, they are way too risky to take on. Let's see if we can't find any more enemies here. Like I said, I just want to keep fighting until the tiredness status begins to cascade across my party. Actually, I should avoid these small shadows because the size of the shadow determines the number of enemies that's going to be in the encounter, and not necessarily the strength of the shadow itself. Small shadows will always be either one or two enemies, usually one enemy, and in that case, it means there's a chance we'll see a Grave Beetle if that's what we attack. Now, when we make it to floor 6 in Reload, we get an enemy who is rather conspicuously blocking our way shortly into the floor.
Is that?
There's a shadow up ahead. I'll take this opportunity to teach you about shifting.
Let's do this.
Get ready, here it comes. I'll provide you with support as well.
All right. Let me tell you about a new tactic called shifting. When you knock an enemy down, shifting allows you to leverage that opening to let someone else take action. Once you do, your offense can follow up with whoever you passed your action to. If you can coordinate well with your team, you'll be able to claim victory with even greater efficiency. You should all be experienced enough to pull this off now. Go ahead and give it a try.
Starting on a strong note, going into floor 6, we get a new exclusive mechanic to Persona 3 Reload, shifting. This is a retooled, and if I'm going to be real, slightly nerfed version of baton passing from Persona 5. If you shift during a one more, you can pass the chance for an extra attack to another party member. Press LT to hand over the turn to someone else. Make use of everyone's strengths to battle efficiently. Now, in Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal, you got direct stat benefits from doing baton passes. Your attacks would become stronger, cheaper, have higher success rate if it was an ailment attack or something. The shift mechanic in Reload does not do that directly, though there are abilities that we can learn later in the game that do actually replicate those effects. For now, though, shifting is just purely a means to spread actions around to your party member and conserve SP that way. And it's a good idea to make heavy use of it so that everybody is using their SP evenly in battle. Otherwise, you might find your critical party members running dry very early on.
Well done. Let's continue exploring.
Oh, hey, and I was about to cut, but we also get another tutorial mechanic right here. Major Arcana cards. Besides the minor Arcana cards that occasionally appear during shuffle time, major Arcana cards may also rarely appear. Only one of each major Arcana card may be acquired per day. The number of major Arcana cards you can acquire in a day is also limited. When you've acquired the maximum number of major Arcana cards, an Arcana burst will occur and increase the ranks of your minor Arcana cards. Collect as many major Arcana cards as you can. The game doesn't fully explain what this means here, but when an Arcana burst happens, every time we get shuffle time, the minor Arcana cards we see will be one rank higher than they were previously, so very good. For right now, we have the Fool available to us select, which has a very blunt and useful effect. All experience gained for the remainder of time we spend in Tartarus will be increased. Very nice. So we'll have to press on a little bit. We'll also hopefully bump into an access point after a while. Wait, there it is again. Detect a powerful foe above you. It's still relatively far away, but be careful as you work your way upward. Will do, Mitsuru. Unfortunately, we're not going to be seeing that one tonight, because we are, well, okay, we might get to the floor where we can see it, but I do want to try and escape from here as soon as possible. Another Grave Beetle there. Fortunately, if you get the first strike on an enemy, you're guaranteed to run away from battle, which is very nice. And here comes our tiredness status on Junpei. You can only have one character succumb to the tiredness status per battle, but once a character does succumb to the tiredness status, that is a cue that it's going to start appearing on the rest of your party. Ooh, a rash guard. Very nice. Your armor determines your defensive ability against every type of damage in this game, not just physical, and endurance. Endurance also determines all defensive calculations in this game, so that's a pretty good piece of armor we get there. Armor in this game, with some exceptions, the armor in this game can have random abilities, so it's not guaranteed that that rash guard will also boost our endurance. So that was a pretty good get there. Let's see. Honestly, we're not having much luck finding access points, so we might be able to head to the next checkpoint in Tartarus and be able to fight the boss when we return here, which actually wouldn't be too big a deal, because that's another one that's pretty easy to do turn order cheese on.
I'm getting kinda tired.
This is not good. Takiba is fatigued.
And, unsurprisingly, Yukari has gotten tired. Hey, Opsarus, I can finally get her back. One thing to note is that these shuffle times, they do actually get pretty fast at points, so it can be a little tricky, even with only a handful of cards to select from, to keep your eyes on the one that you actually want. Now, we do need to be careful if our main character gets tired, but we do actually want the tiredness status to afflict our main character.
What's wrong? Are you feeling tired?
And tiredness has hit us, so now we need to be pretty careful at this point, because we will be taking increased damage while dealing less. Fortunately, with Apsaris at our disposal, we're now able to strike everything's weakness, so we shouldn't, well, we can't hit the weakness of grave beetles, but that doesn't count. So we should be pretty good to deal with everything. Since enemies lose their turns when they're knocked down, we don't have to worry too much about them getting a reprisal on us. Now, the main thing I want to look for is an access point or stairs so that we can get to the next checkpoint of Tartarus. And we will take this fight. Alright, a little rough dealing with the tiredness status and just watching my damage plummet quite a bit, but not too bad at this point. Alright, there's some stairs, plus a treasure chest, so we can take out this enemy, and we'll be in like Flynn as far as making progress in Tartarus. Since we've got some cards here, I would like to take a moment to mention this. Now, if you're trying to get muddy, in Persona 3 Vanilla and FES, you always want to take the coin card when given the choice between that and a weapon card. Coins just give, at every level, give you more money than the equivalent level sword card if you were to sell the weapon you got from that card. But this relationship is actually inverted in Persona 3 Portable. If you're looking to just make money as quickly as possible, in Persona 3 Portable, you always want to take the sword card. Are you alright? Don't push yourself too hard. The powerful enemy I mentioned before is getting closer. If you're not at full strength, then just return for today. Mitsuru will occasionally pop in and make comments like this. It is worth noting that these comments never really get too informative or helpful, but they do actually prevent something that can happen on floors from, well, happening. Also, it's really annoying when there's a shadow right in front of the spawn-in point for a floor. Oh, hey, we got a new enemy here. Obsessed Cupid. I believe these guys are also weak to ice, but we know that for sure with the magic hands. Yes, they are weak to ice. They are in my notes. I had notes for every block except Fable, because I wasn't taking notes when I was going through Fable. That's just bad, or my bad there. But most of the rest of the enemies in the game, I do have clear notes on what to do for them. Alright, we'll take out this downed hand, because if I didn't take it out, my party members will. Party members love to take actions that will deal the most damage possible, but that does not necessarily mean they will do the most useful thing for you. They'll also look for killing enemies in the most economical way possible. So if they can kill an enemy with a normal physical attack, that's what they'll do. Again, one other thing to note for looking for money is obviously the coins are always better than the sword cards, but if a coin card is not available, then of course take the sword so you can sell the weapon later to get money for that. Okay. Actually, you know what? We're pretty close. Nah, I shouldn't risk it. We already had a problem crop up tonight. Let's return to the entrance, and let's watch the penalty of the fatigue system, the real penalty, kick in for us. Sorry, I can't take anymore. I'm going back to the dorm. Sorry, dude. I'm beat. I'm going back to the dorm. Perhaps we should call it a day, since you no longer have a full party. And normally I'd be in agreement with Mitsuru, but the starting floors of Fable are so easy that a solo main character, especially once you have Apsaris, can make it through it no problem. So we're actually going to be doing runs of the first few floors of Fable repeatedly until we have all the supplies we need. But in general, you should not commit to trying to make any serious progress in Tartarus without your party. This is a little bit different in Persona 3 Vanilla. You can take that risk in Vanilla, as the damage values coming from the enemies are much lower in that version of the game since there isn't a hard mode. So you can actually take that risk if you want to, but in FES, once your main character is tired, the enemies hit way too hard on hard mode in this game, so I would not recommend continuing to explore once your main character is tired. But in vanilla, once you have more party members, you can keep on exploring once the rest of your party becomes tired and your main character becomes tired if you want to. I would not recommend doing that in FES, though. So, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to be doing a ton of training, opening treasure chests, and my goal for tonight is I want to have around 30k yen. We're going to be coming back to Tartarus multiple times throughout the month in Persona 3 FES, so I don't need to go as crazy with the money farming as I am going to in Portable and Reload, but we do want to get a lot of that knocked out right away so that we can equip ourselves better for the next Tartarus trip. Ooh, right away into my training, I already got a new persona here, Angel. She has access to the Garu spell, so pretty good get for this point in the game. Gives us even more options for covering enemy weaknesses, and an option against grave beetles when we run into them. Very nice. One other fringe perk of having Angel is that Garu also checks the weakness of every enemy on the first few floors of Tartarus, except for the magic hands, so that actually makes it a lot easier for me to deal with basically any threat I can run into, and it means I can do a fusion here. What do I mean by fusion? Well, let's enter the Velvet Room and actually find out what Igor can really do for us. Ah, there you are. Welcome to the Velvet Room. Well, I suppose it's time for me to explain what I really do here. It is my job to create new personas, but in order to do so, I must fuse your persona cards together. In other words, I shall merge them into a single persona. The number of personas you have buried within you is approximately 170. We've never seen a visitor with this many possibilities before. If you establish social links, you may be able to create even stronger personas too. This should prove very interesting. So, as you accumulate cards, please bring them to me. How may I help you? And yes, this is where we do our equivalent of Demon Fusion in the Persona series to the standard or the mainline SMT series. We do Igor spreads here with our personas to create new ones. Well, I'm describing this like it's any different from how it works in regular SMT, but it really doesn't. But the reason I wanted to do this is, like I said, Angel allows us to check everything that Apsaras would have, plus Cowardly Mayas as well, so there's not really any reason for me to hang on to this specific Apsaras, and we will need a Magician Nekomata in the near future, so let's fuse that right now. When I see Pixie and Apsaras pop up again in the cards, I will be picking them to replenish our stock, because we really want access to Cadenza for boss fights as an absolute emergency. Was just checking to see if we could get ice spells onto Nekomata, which I was pretty sure we couldn't. Every persona in this game has an inheritance pool, and it will allow them to learn some skills and prevent them from learning others. Nekomata cannot learn any ice skills, unfortunately, so no chance of getting Bufu onto her. But with our Magician Social Link, she will gain enough power to level up and learn the Provoke spell, which enrages the enemy. Not very useful. Status ailment spells, not all that useful in this game. So that's our first fusion. We'll be doing plenty of fusion throughout the game. Now, one very important thing, and you probably saw the triangle spread over there. Don't worry about that. We'll go over that when it becomes more relevant. As always. But one very important thing to note for Persona 3 Vanilla and FES, do not, absolutely, do not fuse off Orpheus until you make it past the second full moon of the game. He is so helpful for boss fights coming up because he's one of the components for Cadenza, and if we fuse him off right now, we will not be able to get him back until a certain point in the story, and not having access to Cadenza sucks. So whatever you do, do not fuse off Orpheus. It will make the game way harder. Alright, with that taken care of and fusion demoed slightly, I'm going to return to my money farming. Alright, after about, I'd say like 40 minutes or so, all of my farming for the night in Tartarus is done. Not quite at 30,000 yen, but with all the equipment that I've been picking up throughout Tartarus, plus the treasure that we got from defeating the Venus Eagles, most bosses in Tartarus will drop valuable items that only exist to be sold. This game's equivalent of the outright vendor trash that is featured in Reload. We can just liquidate all of the stuff that we picked up throughout Tartarus, and that should make up the difference for the money that I would like to make. 30,000 won't cover my expenses for the entirety of the month, most likely, but we'll be making multiple trips to Tartarus in FES, so I'll be picking up more money from those trips as well. So this is a one-time thing for money farming, at least right now. There will be reasons to farm money later in the game, but at this point, this is all we really needed to do, and this is just to cover arcade expenses, plus other various social expenses, plus with a little bit on top, we can also get some equipment to help our party fight things better. But that is where we're going to leave off for this video. When we return, we will be exploring, or moving on to the next days. I will be segmenting the Tartarus sections going forward, since we can't do them all at once in FES, and I wouldn't like to bog down the videos with too much Tartarus anyway. I feel like it would be best to split it up based on when fatigue causes me to stop in FES, so just keep in mind that going forward, in Reload and Portable, I will have done all of the Tartarus for the month, with one exception in Portable. Or no, I think it applies in Reload also, but just keep in mind that in Reload and Portable, the bulk of Tartarus will be done once we come back to the real world, or the normal world, or however you want to differentiate the Dark World, or the Dark Hour, from the rest of Tatsumi Port Island. Yeah, we'll be back in Tatsumi Port Island, outside of the Dark Hour, and we will be progressing like that, and then we'll return to Tartarus and the other versions of the game when we return in FES as well. That's how I want to explain that, and yeah, that's where we'll leave this video. As always, I hope you enjoyed watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, though, goodbye.
I don't dispute the doubts you've outlined, but it's my right to waste your time.